Bismillahirrahmanirrahim.
Bismillahirrahmanirrahim. Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuhu. Viewers, we are here once again with the program Rahe, Huda, the Right Path. This program, like every week, is live and interactive. This means that any time during the program, whenever you wish, you can contact us either via telephone or by any other means, and you can speak to any of our esteemed panelists. Any question you may wish to ask, you can ask us, and we will try to answer it as best as possible. Before we start the main segment of our program, I would like to introduce our esteemed scholars and panelists who are here with us today. Here in the London studios with us will be Mukarram Ataul Majib Rashid Sahib. From Pakistan, inshallah, will be with us Mukarram wa Muhtaram Mubashir Kalun Sahib. Also alongside him on the line will be Mubashir Ayaz Sahib. Now viewers, we will commence the main segment of our program. At the end of the previous program, we told you that we spoke about Reverend John Hugh Pigott, and we spoke about him in relation to the promised Messiah, peace be upon him. The promised Messiah, peace be upon him, had prophesied something about him, and he gave him a warning. Dr. Mirza Sultan Ahmad Sahib, in quite in-depth detail, explained the background to that prophecy. And as a recap, I would like to tell you that what he said last week. He said that when the promised Messiah, peace be upon him, came to know that Reverend Pigott, who was a priest, he claimed to be God, he claimed to be divine, then the promised Messiah, peace be upon him, wrote a written warning to him and said that immediately recant your claim to be a divine or God. So what did we see after that? We saw after that, because of this warning, and also because of the pressure that was building from the press, and also the processions and other kind of protests that were occurring from Christians. So that Reverend Pigott had to be taken via a police escort where he went to a place called the Abode of Love, where the Agapemonites had formed their headquarters. After that, he never repeated that claim of being a divine or God. And in the life of the promised Messiah, peace be upon him, neither did he ever repeat that claim, or neither afterwards did he repeat that. If we look at all the newspapers at that time, if we look at all the letters and all the sermons that are available to us, you do not find anywhere, you do not even find a hint anywhere where he has again claimed to be a divine. Yes, he did claim to be the Messiah, but not to be a divine. So we will speak about this with relation to various archives and other information. About this, we spoke to Joshua Shoezo. Dr. Joshua Shoezo wrote a research in relation to his PhD. And about this, he wrote this about deluded inmates. He did an in-depth study about this, and he did this about John Hughes Pigott. So about this, he wrote this, and about this interview, what we spoke about this, a small segment of it we will repeat in this program, but the rest of that interview you will be able to read or watch on our YouTube site, youtube.com, Rahe Huda Archives 1. So we will not play the whole interview, we will play a part of the interview, and if you want to watch the remaining full segment of the interview, you can go to Rahe Huda Archives 1. At this time, we will play that related part of the interview which relates to Pigott.
Initially, obviously, it was a claim of being the second coming of the Messiah, but then we see that he moves on to making very bold claims of being God. But then, obviously, because of the pressure that was built on him, because of the warning sent by the founder of our community as well, we see that he does sort of refrain from those claims and goes down to milder claims. So would you like to say something about that?
Yes, I mean, I think he realised that there was danger of him being prosecuted under the blasphemy laws, which strictly only protect the Church of England, but was obviously relevant in this case. And it also, his personal situation, he was living in with a woman who was not his wife, Sister Ruth, apparently with the happy participation of his wife. When he moves down here, his claims are always moderated. I think the rather flowery language he used enabled him to make claims that could be read in many different ways. So if you wanted to read them in a sort of sense of divinity, you could. If you didn't care to read them, or if he wished to deny that he was claiming to be God, the way he phrased things, the circumlocutions enabled him to do that. And the Agapemone, though it did issue sort of what you might call publicity statements occasionally, these were always of a very circumspect nature, as I think you've realised.
Absolutely. But on the contrast, we see that before this, the claims were very boldly made and very much publicised, isn't it?
That's right. Yes, yes. I mean, they're still a little unwise. I mean, but not generally about his divinity. When his children are born, he invites the local registrar of births, marriages, and deaths in to certify, and to record this. And it's that action which enables the Church of England to eventually expel him from the ranks of their clergy because he had violated a canon law. He was living with a woman who was not his wife and had fathered children by her. And that was their proof. They were able to prove this, that it was him who had broken the church law in that respect.
Yeah. Right, but obviously before he was defrocked by the Church of England, he definitely had made his claims moderate and taken back his claim of divinity.
He'd backed off and retreated from these claims.
ये थे डॉक्टर जोशुआ शोएजो जो कि लेक्चरर हैं
who works at the University of West of England, and his detailed research regarding it. In light of that, he has explained some things with relation to Pigott, and he has said very plainly that that claim of being divine, he refrain from doing that afterwards. The opponents make attempts that they say that that claim of being Messiah was actually a claim of being God. But if this were correct, then why did he separately before claim to be God? Because that claim he made in the church is that God is not up there. And then he pointed to himself. He said God is here. So if he only came as a Messiah, if he only came as this perception of Messiah, then why did he need to separately claim to be God? So we just saw this interview, and other witnesses and researchers are also there, that he never repeated that claim to be divine. This is a very simple and very clear and very straightforward matter. I would like to present a reference with relation to this. This is a book called Temple of Love, and the author of this is Donald McCormick. In this book, he has very clearly and very plainly, he says that beloved one is regarding the Pigott. The beloved one's extravagant claims that led many people to suspect that he was mad, and at the time would not be far distant when he would be sent to somewhere where his blasphemy would no longer be susceptible to religious susceptibilities. Afterwards, he writes in this book, he went back to Spexton, and then this person writes that the flamboyant Messiah of Clapton became the quiet, gentle pastor of Paxton. So Basit Sahib says that, look, we are not saying this. You can research about this. Those people who have researched about it, and however many people there are who have researched about this, they say is that this split personality of his, where he had different attributes and different qualities, you will see that according to the prophecy of the promised Messiah, peace be upon him, it was fulfilled completely. The promised Messiah warned him that if you do not refrain from claiming to be God, then you will be killed in your lifetime. He did not repeat that claim in his lifetime. When somebody repeats that, then we see that in 1909 when the Church of England defrocked him. And regarding this, we will also show you a slide and that sentence that was actually said when he was defrocked. At that time, he says that I am God, I don't care. Whatever anybody wants to do, they can do. Now look, at that time, the promised Messiah, peace be upon him's prophecies, splendor of it, and the magnificence of it can be seen in this fact. That revelation of the promised Messiah, peace be upon him, which is the explanation of this was also given, that it seems like he will not refrain from his prophecy, and his end will be extremely bad. So in the life of the promised Messiah, peace be upon him, he did not repeat his claim. Then in 1909, he repeated his claim. Then in 1909, if you research his life, if you look at it from any angle, if you look at it from any aspect, whether it is fiction or novels or non-fiction that has been written about it, whether newspaper articles are written about it, everybody has repeated the same thing. That the disgrace, the continuing gradual decline in every aspect of his life is clearly witnessed. And in this book, Temple of Love, the people who were in the Agapemonites, the inmates, the other people who were with him, they felt that he was a victim of a split personality disorder. Then afterwards, as he gradually progressed in his age, everything is written there about how he gradually was disgraced more and more, how more and more he fell into the depths of disgrace. He only had a few followers left, and practically his whole community became nullified. It was nothing left of his community. We see this was the result of it, and then we find that he had an illegitimate child, and the last person who died was the woman who bore him that illegitimate child. We read these things, we see these things, we find that nobody from that community is now here. Nobody claims that they are part of that community or related to that community anymore today. So now we will show you that sentence, that the Church of England, when they made a court case or a case against him and they defrocked him, what did they say at that time? We will show you that on our screen now. This is that sentence of incapability of holding this post, and this is on your screen now. This is an entire document where we are only showing you some parts of it. This is in fact the very beginning of that document. This is from 1909. Then if we progress forward, we see after that the mockery that was entailed in various newspapers and all sorts of jokes that were included in various magazines, etc. We find this title, An Unfrocked Messiah. Now, if somebody was going to be mocked at, then his biggest claim is mocked at. You do not mock his claim in the middle or his medium claim, you claim his highest and loftiest claim. So if he had claimed to be God, then he would have been mocked at on this fact. The next slide also proves this to us. We see here that it says Pigott, the self-styled Messiah. Then if we move forward, there is something very interesting that comes to light. And after this, there is no room left for any kind of doubt whatsoever, apart from that person who wants to live his life in doubt. The Weekly Dispatch newspaper that used to be published from Somerset. The illegitimate children regarding it is mentioned here, and in it said the Reverend John Hugh Smith Pigott, the self-styled Messiah, described as a clerk in holy orders, was registered as the father of the child. So he called himself as a clerk in holy orders. This is what is written here. Now if we look even further on, there is something even more interesting. We will like to show you another slide. This is the certificate of his wedding. This is from 1886. In that is John Hugh Smith Pigott has been highlighted. His profession is written as clerk in holy orders, and this is from 1886. That is also been highlighted on your screen. Now move forward even further. In 1905, in the life of the promised Messiah, peace be upon him, when another illegitimate child was born. Then you can see the date here in 1905 has been very clearly been highlighted. Again, the profession has been written, priest in holy orders. Nowhere here has any kind of claim of divinity been mentioned here. And this is a certified document which is being seen on your screen now. We would like to credit and we would like to thank the Somerset Archives Centre, from where we obtained all of these very useful documents. We would like to thank them for this, and we have presented this before you. The state of these documents, which are only a few that we have shown you, there is an entire folder, and inshallah we will make a separate folder and we will present this on MTA and on YouTube as well. We will present these facts where all of these things, all of these details, all of these proofs will be presented to you. These were in a very poor state. In fact, they were so poor that they could not even be photocopied. So this is why we asked Maqsanatasphere. Maqsanatasphere aided us in providing the photos and taking the photos in a way that could be clearly seen by all of you. I would like to also relate to you regarding some personal archives that we obtained. You remember from last time that Kate Barlow, her accounts regarding her grandfather, from there we told you that in a diary we found homosum, and this is a Latin phrase, and the meaning of this Latin phrase is this, that I am a man. Now if I would like to, if I show it to you now, this is from his room. We found this from a relative of Pigott. This is that Latin phrase. This is a frame that was in Pigott's room. This was actually in Pigott's room. So now look here, it is written in Latin. The translation has been written as well behind, and we will show you that on your screen now. The translation is a very famous Latin phrase. This is from a very famous Roman writer. It means, I am a man. Nothing alien to humanity do I consider indifferent to me. is different to me. So now see, he might have had some kind of wishful thinking, but he definitely called himself a human. Then there is a Bible. This is John Hugh Smith Pigott's own Bible. His name is included there. We would like to show it to you close up. There is a slide of it as well we would like to show you. It will be better, in fact, if we show it to you clearly on the screen. This is Pigott's own personal diary. That is Bible. This is Pigott's own Bible, and he has written some notes himself in it. In here where he writes about glorifying God, we will also show you the slide where he mentions this. This is the close-up now on your screen. Here you can see gratitude, humility, submission to God, glorifying to God. All the references that have been written by Pigott himself, they are all those same ones which the Church of England normally use and normal Christians normally use, and these are the teachings normally given in the church. There is nothing different from that and what it is. This is a very common Bible amongst Christians. The only difference is in different languages, simultaneous translations are normally provided. Then there is another Holy Bible. This is also Pigott's, and Pigott gave it to his son on the occasion of Christmas. You can see in this book as well that he writes, "To my firstborn son, David, from your father." And if we look at the slide, you will see here on the screen now, if it is possible to see a close-up, it says, "To my firstborn son, David, from your father, who stays with you, our Father who art in heaven." So if we find the end of his life, it is very clear that all of his claims and all of his wishful thinking, he did not actually express that, and he never expressed that again or repeated that. So in this way, the warning of the promised Messiah, peace be upon him, that magnificently was fulfilled. That person did not repeat that claim, and the result is before you. We have mentioned it briefly today, the end of Pigott, and later on we will also again mention that. So the Messiah's prophecy and warning was magnificently fulfilled. Now we conclude this regarding Pigott. I would like to say to you again that a detailed program separately will be aired on MTA, because here in Rahe Huda there are many different issues which we want to discuss. There are also all sorts of topics that we need to talk about. So however much time we could give to this, we have given, and inshallah we have to speak about other subjects, but we will have a separate program where we will speak about Pigott. You can also go to Rahe Huda Archives 1 on YouTube.